What's up, world? It's your boy Tommy Mav, and I came to speak on something that is just really, really annoying me. It's that one of the most remembered quotes is history. When this is recorded in history, the cowards will hide their head, right? It's quoted. I can't remember who actually wrote it, but it's the truth, right? That is the recompense. That is the what's the word? That is the punishment, I guess, is the most layman way I can put it. Is that's what you get when you do things, right? What I'm annoyed about is now all of a sudden Michael Jordan fought for the rights of black people. I mean, it's anybody who knows Jordan, anybody who grew up in the 90s, know that is one of the biggest lies that these Jordan fans or in the media are trying to perpetrate now. It's sickening. You know what I'm saying? When a guy not see what makes Jordan worse than a lot of other people, in my opinion, is Jordan dealt with racism himself, right? So if you dealt with racism yourself, why would you get to a position of power and not care about people who are just like you, who are probably dealing with the same thing? Even if you want to say the ghetto guy is just, unsavable, you know what I'm saying? They're unredeemable. What about the people that were the good blacks? Why not speak up for them? They're just like you were, right? You didn't speak up for them either. He refused at a time when he had a crazy amount of power. He refused to come out and speak against a openly racist person running for office. He refused to speak against him, right? Because they say he said it in jest, so I'm not gonna act like he said this seriously, because it sounds like something someone would say in jest. But he said, Republicans buy shoes too. Now, does that mean that he meant that and that he was saying he doesn't really? I don't know, but whether he was joking or not, it gives an insight into how he thinks, right? He may have. So there's two types of ways of joking, right? There's the first way, in which a person is just saying crazy stuff just to see if they can get a rise out of people, only to quickly tell them, "Look, dude, I was just joking. I'm just messing with you." Right? Then there's a second type of joke where a person says something that they know they shouldn't say, but they say it so bluntly that people laugh about it. Right? It's like your mom saying, it's like your wife saying, "Oh, I'm gonna buy, I don't want to eat that dessert," and then looking around and saying, "Mom, Dad, I'm gonna tear this up." That is a different type of way of joking. Now they're both still joking, but one is saying, I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And the other one is saying, you know what I'm saying, is completely being unhonest. It has nothing to do with you as a person. You're just making an outlandish joke to get a rise out of somebody. Jordan did the former. He spoke and said Republicans buy shoes too, not because he was trying to say something outlandish to get a rise out of people, but he was trying to say something in which he was basically saying, look, you know what I'm saying? Plus there's that. You know what I mean? So it was blunt, but it was a blunt joke. It wasn't a facetious joke, right? So I think when you look at somebody like Jordan, you have to you gotta give him a side eye, and that's what makes me annoyed. It's not the fact that Jordan said something dumb. I mean, we all say dumb things. You know what I'm saying? We can't, if you're around long enough and you speak long enough, you're gonna say something stupid. That's just life. We're all a product of our experiences. And sometimes we love to speak on things we have no experience at. And when we don't have experience in those things, we tend to say dumb things. And that's just how life works. So I'm not on here to crucify Jordan for not speaking up when I felt he should have, or for being different than I am. That's not the point. The point I'm getting annoyed with is I'm starting to see some bull BS stuff from Jordan's fans that are so disingenuous to the African American experience. It angers me. Okay, Michael Jordan gave $100 million to black socialist change, whatever, at a time where it is overwhelmingly obvious that the majority of people have stated that they think that police brutality is a problem. And you have millions and millions of white, black, Spanish, Asian, it doesn't matter, people who are protesting this. So what limb are you going out on by doing this? Now, if Jordan was so for the cause, why did he wait until it became the popular thing to do before he gave the $100 million? Probably because he didn't give a shit and didn't want to be seen as someone connected to a black movement or being funding a black movement. Him or Magic Johnson. So I just find it funny, you know, so he gives $100 million. Okay, great. You gave $100 million. We're proud of you for that. It's probably a tax write-off for your business, but we really don't know. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, you gave $100 million. That's cool. As an African American, I appreciate that. But let's not try to act like he was a freedom fighter for peace now, and now all of a sudden it changes the narrative of what he was as a most popular athlete in the world. As the most popular athlete in the world, he only cared about pleasing white people. Black people, he had them on a string. No matter what he thought, no matter what he did, black people were gonna love him regardless. As the Jordan fans show every single day. White people, he knew, would change on him in the hat. If it came out that he said something that was in support or against racism, they would have saw him as one of them blacks. One of those uppity blacks that don't like getting their head bashed in, or don't like police officers slamming them, shooting them with water hose, or sicking dogs on them, or being called the N-word for existing, when you're the only black person in a group of white people. You know, you want to be actually treated normally, so they think you're an uppity nigger. So this is what Jordan had to do with, and everybody knows Jordan had to do with this. But let's not, Jordan didn't care about those people. Jordan's relationship with the black community has always been about as a parent or his connection to the black community has generally just been his skin color. Now Jordan fans are trying to paint it as if Jordan paid for Malcolm X. I guarantee you, there's a reason why we never knew that. Okay? So stop it. There's a reason why we never knew him and Magic Johnson helped Spike Lee make X, the Malcolm X movie. Okay? There's a reason why we didn't know that. Because they probably gave it to him and told him not to tell anybody that they were actually helping him out. Which, by the same token, does not diminish it. It's still a good gesture. It's still a good thing. But there's a reason why we didn't know that. And we do know that now. Because there's this PR campaign now to try to paint Jordan as if he was a freedom fighter, which is a lot of I heard Stephen A. say that whole bullcrap. Oh, Michael Jordan hired a bunch of black people. So did Donald Trump. And I'm not saying Donald Trump is racist. I'm saying Donald Trump hired a lot of black people. Hell, Donald Sterling hired a lot of black people. That doesn't make them a fighter for black people. I mean, or how dumb. When Donald Sterling says it, it sounds idiotic. No, you're paying people for services, right? And I'm not saying that you can't hire or try to put black people in positions of power within your business and within your company structure. Of course you can, and that will be applauded. But I guarantee you, there's a lot of white people there too. So, at what point are you saying this is a thing that he's doing for black people, or black people, or do you truly believe black people are just not ever generally qualified to be in a position? They can only be put in there as an act of civil obedience or racial selection. So, or selection based on race. I think it's incredibly undermining. I mean, it incredibly undermines the gesture when you have someone on TV saying you gave the person the job because they were black. It kind of hurts their ability to be seen as a competent in their position when you tell them that he hired these people because they were black, not because they were capable. And I know people will say, well, he's saying they're capable and black. Yeah, but you're saying you really hired them because they were black. So that means if the white person was better than you, then you hired them because they were black, not because they were more qualified or better at the job than the white people. At least that can be inferred. So it's kind of counterproductive for Stephen Idiot to say that, but he still went out of his way, because that right now they're trying to Jordan wash history and flip it and make it seem like Jordan was this fighter now. It's like, dude, stop it. He did about as much for African Americans in his business that any other white person in America has done. They hired some white black people because they had to, because there are certain standards and practice that force you to have a certain amount of your workforce that is African American. So stop with the Jordan did this for black people stuff that Stephen A is pushing. Stop, and now all of a sudden we know that he paid for the X thing, and all of these ESPN people are throwing this up every 2 seconds as if it somehow proves that he's always been a fighter for black people, and it's just almost laughable. Anybody who knows anything about MJ knows he was never a fighter for black people. He said in his documentary that he was never a fighter for black people. So this whole narrative, because LeBron is so revered for what he says and how he speaks out at his detriment for African Americans. He gets hate mail, he gets hate, he gets anger, he gets all types of stuff thrown his way. And he did it before any athlete, before it was popular for any athlete to really do it. Him, Dwayne Wade, they spoke out at times when nobody else was speaking out. They had the hoodies on when Trayvon Martin. No other team did that. They had the I Can't Breathe shirt. No other team did that. LeBron's never shied away from talking about those issues, because I think those issues mean something to him, because he grew up in those areas. And like I said in my last video, and I won't harp on it, but when you're African American, you understand and you see, and I think a lot of these protesters and a lot of people in America starting to see the wide, the insight into what type of people that are in majority black neighborhood. The lying on police reports, the covering up, the falsely accusing people, falsely arresting people. That is what our experience has been for the last 100 years. You know what I mean? We all we're saying, and I remember when I was in college and I was in my law class. It was a class about in which you spoke out on a lot of these issues, and so she was telling it how it works. And I remember, and I didn't do this because I was being Black Power or nothing like that. I just asked her because it was genuinely confusing to me. I was like, couldn't the police officer just lie? And she got extremely mad, and I was trying to have a debate with her, and I wasn't trying to have a debate. I was truly asking, like, isn't it possible? Isn't that a huge flaw in the system? Because the police can just lie. You know what I'm saying? She was like, well, we have to learn to trust our police officers. And this is what ends up being a narrative a lot of times. It's like, no, nobody is saying that, you know what I'm saying, that we should not trust police officers. We're saying there are times when situations and somebody is telling you the police officer is lying on them, you should listen to them, because police officers are not infallible. They lie. So it's very possible that the person is lying, and you won't give credence to it because they're an officer. And that is very dangerous for me. Anyways, I want to speak on that. Please comment, subscribe, thumbs it up. Let me know what you think. This whole narrative about now Michael Jordan, was this fighter for freedom now, for black people. He just did it in a quiet way. Narrative, and tell me what you think. All right, y'all. Peace.